Hello music fans, welcome back to Guitar Guru channel. If you are watching this particular video, that means you start suspecting that something's wrong with our modern contemporary music. You probably noticed that quality of music today, music and lyrics basically, is on decline. And a lot of famous musicians all over the world confirm your point of view, and maybe your parents say that contemporary music basically sucks. So the topic for discussion today is why good music died and when exactly it happened, because a lot of YouTube bloggers and musicians would actually tell you it happened somewhere in 60s, right? Others in 70s, and I believe it happened after 80s. In today's video blog, we'll try to figure what really happened after 80s, why we are in the situation we found ourselves today. Then we discuss this term good music. How do you actually tell what music is good and what's not? And of course, we'll discuss music made by computers and played on computers. We will also compare how people some 30 or 40 years ago listened to music versus how we listen to music now. Believe me, there is a huge difference. And we will see how music industry manipulates us into liking contemporary music, whether we want it or not. And most importantly, we'll answer the question, is our ability to create good music lost forever? Do we actually have a chance to recover that ability? Stay tuned. Well, my name is Andy Paul, and I've been playing music professionally for the past 3 decades. Don't let my looks deceive you. I've been on professional music stage since 1989. In 1989, I've been already on professional music stage as a part of Philharmonic Society music band Legenda. Then I switched to another professional music band called Utopia. And in early 2000s, I've been a part of Ozone music band, which became internationally famous. I've seen music dying literally while actually performing and playing music live. I've seen how music tastes changed over time, over the past 30 years, and it was a gradual change that you could not really grab and grasp and notice right away because it's happening slowly. Remember that effect of a boiling frog, when they put a frog in the warm water and then very slowly warm it up until the point it boils, right? So the frog in these tests does not notice when it's gonna be killed. I mean, the frog does not notice it's being killed in the process. Same happened with good music. And now let's begin our review. Let's go. First, when good music died? Was it 60s, 70s, or 80s? A lot of music bloggers and even some musicians would say it was in 60s because it was a peak of Beatles performances. And they recorded probably the best, arguably, music album in the world in 1966. However, we all know that in 70s, music bands like Deep Purple and Rainbow really ruled and developed rock music to the heights it's never been reached before. Jimi Hendrix still was going very strong in 70s up until he died. Then if you review Pink Floyd discography, right, to see when they released albums, probably best albums were still released in 83, 87, and 88. Michael Jackson, Thriller album, 1982. Whitney Houston, best album she ever recorded was actually 2 albums, was 1985 and 87. Then if we move towards rock music, you all probably know that Metallica released their best album in 1986, Master of Puppets. Van Halen actually recorded 2 insanely good albums in 1984 and 85. Plus, you've probably all heard about Whitesnake music band and David Coverdale, who picked his career in 1987 by creating this particular album, which was absolutely best heavy rock or hard rock album of that time. Nowadays, all contemporary cover bands, famous cover bands, someone who plays covers on stage, they almost always include music from 80s, which tells us that in 80s it was still going strong. Something that happened afterwards, somewhere in 90s, is what changed music. Does it make sense? Do you see now that we actually witnessed a music taking wrong turn after 80s? Now we're up to for the second question. What is good music and how do you tell which one's good, which one's not? Well, if you are a professional musician, right? If it's your profession, you technically know that music is made of harmony, melody, and rhythm. It's a combination of these three. So you instantly catch if the music you listen to is harmonically complex or it's not. Or if it's melodically advanced, right? How many different licks or guitar licks are used in a melody or in solo or on keyboard, or how complex this melodic harmony is, like how many people sing at the same time, how precise their tune is, especially like in old time when they didn't have auto-tuners. You could really hear that this person can sing, while nowadays they just compress and bring the notes that you sing up or down, literally physically on the computer screen, right? So if you haven't reached a specific note, it's not a big deal. Your sound engineer can correct it physically on the computer screen, right? They can also use some kind of sound improving technology and applications that bring out harmonics and overtones that your voice does not really have, but they can artificially put it there again on the computer screen. So always hear the musician, the artist, the singer singing or playing live. That actually shows you that he or she can really deliver what you hear on the recording. You would tell it was not created artificially. And last but not least, when you hear music, when you listen to music, feel if you are getting energy from it, if you get inspiration, if it's something that actually moves you, challenges you, makes you take a next step, make an effort. If you get energy and inspiration from listening to that particular song, to that particular artist, that's a good sign that music you listen to is good music. Which leads us to bullet point number 3. Music made by computers. Can they inspire? Does computer or AI, artificial intelligence, which is getting more and more advanced, still, can it feel? Can it charge music with a particular energy, right? Somewhere 30 or 40 years ago, scientists and musicians in Japan created a robot that plays acoustic guitar. And with acoustic guitar like pieces, it's very important to have a clean sound production and make sure you can play it fast and still not loose, not sloppy, right? So of course, robot doesn't have this problem because it doesn't have physical body. You program and it can play with any speed and still be super clear on sound production side. However, it was never developed into a robot performing on stage because nobody wants to go to a classical music concert and listen to a robot because it cannot charge music with its feelings. It cannot put any energy, emotions, right? Like soul movement. Like computer cannot do that. It can do what you program, but it's going to be such a small portion of emotion compared to when a human being is playing the same thing. So the scientists in Japan figured that it's better to have it a little bit sloppier, maybe not as clean as robot is playing, but still have a human being who get to project their emotions and feelings into the audience. That makes the right interaction between a person who plays music and the audience. Now, I don't want you to take my words and Of course, you can always say, well, Andy, maybe it's your personal opinion. I know a lot of people who like contemporary music, but here's some information and researchers that's been digging around in the past 3 decades, 25 years for sure, and brought up a lot of data about our music being on decline and getting worse and worse by the year. Check it out. You've probably heard about this famous Spanish National Research Council. It's a research center that collected 30 plus years of studies, and they show that our suspicions are true. Music is getting worse by the year. What they did, they took 500,000 of songs ranged from 1955 to 2010 and ran complex tests on them. They ran some interesting tests trying to determine 3 basic things in the music in the past versus contemporary music. So they test harmonic complexity of music, timbral diversity, and loudness. And the most shocking result was that timbral diversity dropped drastically by 80 or 90% since 1960s. Playing live instruments give the music soul, because this is the actual human being with feelings, right, with soul, who plays that instrument versus computer sample, which is empty. Loudness was another issue because contemporary music is trying to compete with other musicians, with other bands, by making their music louder. Same is happening in ads, same is happening in movies and music. So to make your track sound louder than your competition, you have to use dynamic range compression. Dynamic range compression. That means you are trying to put as much as possible data, bits and bytes in your music, and it's only achievable if you use fewer instruments, because the more instruments you use, the more they eat out these bytes out of your track, right? So it's all blurry. To make it bright and loud, you need only 1, 2, 3 instruments, and they need to be dynamically compressed to beat the competition in loudness. And as you already guessed, all this kills the soul in the music. That is why we are losing it. So scientists and researchers agree that something took a wrong turn in music industry after 60s. But I do not believe it's exactly 60s. It was just a peak, right? From which very gradually and very slowly music started to decline, the quality of music and lyrics. As I mentioned above, in 70s and 80s, we still had a pretty good number of awesome musicians and music bands, and very good albums and songs still being written in 80s. And again, it was not a specific year in 80s when good music died. It was a process where music was trying to still survive and come up, and then it was again on decline, again trying to survive and going down one more time. Perhaps the brightest example of how music was on decline in the end of 80s is 2 albums of Whitesnake with David Coverdale as a frontman. That was 1987 and 1989. Check these 2 albums out. I'm not gonna play the songs here because it will trigger the copyright claim, but just put it to a test yourself. Take Whitesnake 1987 album, play 1 or 2 songs, very first 2 songs, and then change it to 1989 and play 1 song or 2 songs from that album. You will instantly hear how everything on 89th album is shrinked, compressed, although almost the entire band is the same. They just changed 1 guitarist, right? They got Steve Vai instead of John Sykes. Both awesome guitarists, right? So it cannot be that Steve Vai contributed to decline the quality of the recording. No, it was a move from one type of studio, old school, where you record music on tape, right? And the computer based mastering was brought to almost zero. So it was done old school by very highly paid engineers in the studio. Then in 1989, apparently they moved to a newer studio that had computerized processes for mastering, for recording and all that. It's easier, you know, it works faster, you pay less. That's how musicians start to cut corners, basically. They had to pay Steve Vai apparently, so they decided to cut on expenses on the studio. Plus, back then, nobody knew that the digital mastering is not as good as manual, for example, right? Done by old school specialists. So in this Whitesnake example, from 87 to 89, you can clearly hear, even if you're not a musician, you will hear how small the spectrum of frequencies is recorded on 89 compared to 87. You just can't help it but notice that something is wrong on the latest album. Since then, everybody switched from old school mastering to new computerized digital mastering type of recording and approaching music recording. And this is where the quality and warmth of the sound basically disappeared. And some music gourmet type of people switched to old school vinyl discs, right? Trying to preserve the warmth of the sound, saving music on these vinyl discs at home and listening to them old school. But unfortunately, nowadays it's all about streaming applications. So it's not just 5 or 10 or 15 discs that you bought, right? It's millions and millions albums and artists at your fingertip. So it's more convenient. You get access to a way bigger variety of music bands and songs. And on one hand, it's good, right? To have more choice. On the other hand, you start depreciating the actual music. With these millions of songs and artists at your fingertips, you kind of lose the appreciation, right? The music became a white noise, background noise when you drive in your car. That's how we listen to music right now. And that is a contributing factor to good music to die. Now with these millions of songs that are ready at your demand in your car or on your cell phone, you basically don't care. All you need is a punchy line, right? Drum beat or a punchy bass line and some repetitive wording like baby, baby, tonight I'm loving you. If I was your boyfriend, tonight I'm loving you, right? That's it. That's the hit right there. We all became consumers of a cheap product. And as I mentioned, music was trying to survive, and probably the brightest example, another one, here you don't even need to compare two different albums, it's just one album of Bon Jovi in 2000. So he released a pretty good single, It's My Life song. It was a part of the album called Crush, released in 2000. So if you hear this album, I believe the It's My Life song is coming first. And then they have many more songs in that album, like maybe 9 or 10 more songs, but no one knows them. You know why? Because only It's My Life was recorded in the old school, good and expensive studio. The rest of the album was recorded in a way cheaper digital type of studio. That is why all other songs except the first one sound terrible. So Bon Jovi knew that all he needs is just one song. That's gonna be a hit. It's gonna be rotated all over the radio stations, TV channels, and so on. So he didn't care about other songs. He needed one very special and very good song. And they cut corners again, all right? Probably not him specifically, because they have management, they have promoters who basically tell you what to do. You don't make all the decisions by yourself as a musician. So take this album of Bon Jovi, 2000, called Crush. And in this Crush album, listen to the first song, It's My Life, and then try to listen to the second and third. And you will hear how music actually was trying to survive and was dying again. So digital mastering won the battle, ultimately. Now let's listen a little bit more of what our music analytical guys have to say. Let's check this article out. It's posted on spindity.com, and they talk about the decline of rock music nowadays. So they took Billboard Hot 100 songs of 1978 and compared it to Hot 10 songs from 2019. And you can see that it's hard to spot rock bands anymore in the most contemporary hit parades, right? So maybe you will find Maroon 5 and Panic at the Disco, but you really need to look hard. Nowadays, it's all about making music with computer samples, which again lack the soul and feelings and energy, right? So we're back to the same point. And with computer samples, there are only a handful of people who write this kind of music on a good level, right? So everybody, all these famous bands, including Maroon 5, they buy music from just two people. No wonder all music sound kind of the same. Contemporary music is like following same samples, same harmony, same rhythm, same chord progression, all over again and again. Yes, I totally agree that nowadays music sounds somewhat similar. I mean, these are different songs with different names from different music bands, but they sound as if it was the same song, and I can confirm it through my music experience. So producers and music promoters call it Millennial Whoop or Millennial Whoop, where you play fifth and third note of your minor tonic chord. In A minor, it would be A, C, E, 1, 3, 5. So whenever you play 5, 3, 5, 3, right, it creates this Millennial Whoop. Why specifically these notes? Why it's whoa, whoa, why it's so catchy? Because these two notes cover maximum number of chords in a chord progression, and they still sound consonant. For example, if I play whoa, 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 E, C, and with A minor, then I can do A, C, but with C major, then E, C with F, and then maybe resolve it back to A minor, right? Whoa, 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 and you created a hit Millennial Whoop, right? That's how it works. So you notice how chord progression is always rotating around A, M, F, C, and either G or E depending on the circumstances, right? So it's almost A, M, F, C. Let me explain how it actually worked in my professional career and what experience I got with creating hit songs. Whoa, 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 la la, la la la. So it's been back in 2003 when I was a part of a music band Ozone, and we just released a hit song. It was a success, locally at least, like maybe Romania, Moldova, Russia. The song was called Manekinoki Te, I'm Drowning in Your Eyes. So the chord progression was A-M, Manekinoki Te, F major, C, and G, Ești începe pe mine despre tine când și zi și noapte, la la la. Right, it's always M, F, C, and G, so you see same chords, A, M, F, C, G, A, M, F, C, G, throughout the entire song, right? So after we had that first success, our lead singer Dan shows up and brings a new song, claiming that this time it's gonna be even bigger hit. And he starts showing us chord progression and melody. Maya he, Maya who, Maya ha, Maya ha ha. You see, hello, F, salute, C, hajduk, right? So that's F, C, G, A, M again, right? And it goes like, vrei să pleci, dar numai e, numai e chipul tău și dragostea din tei, mai neck în ochii tăi. So you see how I can even mix one song with another, both famous Ozone songs, and both have exact same chord progression, very similar and catchy melody. So back at that time, when I heard Maya He song for the first time, me, our drummer and bass guitarist, we were on the fence. We didn't believe we could sell pretty much exact same song again, right? Not to mention to make it even bigger hit. But Dan said, no, you don't understand. People love similar. They want to hear something that they would say, oh, it's something like this or that, but I'm not entirely sure. It's still slightly different. But he said people loved similar. It kind of makes them relaxed. It releases dopamine into their brain when they hear similar music. Basically, when people hear something that they heard before or something similar, it makes them feel safe. So it sells. And surely enough, after 1 month of us recording this new hit, Maya He, Maya Ha, it became an international hit. I was amazed more than anybody else. The song hit all possible hit parades in East Europe, in West Europe, and even Asia. In Japan only, there was like 1 million discs, CDs sold only in Japan. But we basically sold a song that was a continuation of our previous song. So your audience wants to hear something similar. Music producers and promoters also want to put you in a specific frame. So when you get signed up with a music label, they instantly start talking about which category they would place you into your music in, right? For example, they say, let's make it sound like Nirvana, or let's make it sound like Maroon 5, because it sells. This is why music is not original anymore. I mean, there are plenty of local musicians and music bands that create good music, but the chances of them becoming big are very slim. They will never be signed up. If a music band or musician is not falling into a specific category where promoters know that they can get back their investment, right? After they promote you, they would get money back. They don't want to risk their money. So, all right, they follow the strict formula. You've got to be like this or like that in order to make money and bring profit to them. Now, the question is how we get out of this dead end we got ourselves into. Is there a hope that good music will come back, that originality will come back, right? When music promoters will stop thinking only about their income and revenue, right? In reality, it's a tough question, right? I will repeat myself, good music exists, but you really have to dig into music around you and maybe go and support local talents, right? Someone who's not signed, because as soon as a musician or band becomes big, they will fall into that specific category of hit makers. And they will follow specific rules and steps I explained before and what you saw explained by researchers. So start the change with yourself. Be attentive to what you listen to, all right? Don't just make it background noise. For example, I don't listen to radio. I don't listen to suggested music because it's all bull, right? I'm going for like what I like. Pink Floyd, Whitesnake, Deep Purple, right? So I listen to what I believe and feel is good music. And I don't let the promoters, the music industry, like on big level, to get to me and tell me what to listen to, what to like. I make my own decision. I hope you will do that too. It would be a very good first step, all right? Because ultimately, if people don't want to listen to it, this music industry will have to adjust itself and slightly start going back to what it was like in 60s, 70s, and 80s. Support your local talents. Go to shows, all right? Find it on YouTube, on Spotify, but be purposely attentive to what is good music and what's not. Listen to lyrics, listen to music, listen to harmonies, listen to instruments that are recorded, all right? If you hear the same beat and if you hear this plastic keyboard sample used again and again and whoa, whoa, on top of it, just decline it. Don't vote with your listen to that music. Don't vote with your like. Sooner or later, this new system of creating music and listening to music will work itself out. It will be worn out. All right, and I'm pretty sure that good taste in music will prevail in the future. Just participate in the process. And until next video, peace.